We realized pretty early on it was a military plane because people were in flight suits, green flight suits.
Looked out and we could see the big tires and the big engines and big pieces, and you knew, like you said, it wasn't a small plane.
Debris was actually in 2 different fields,
Right.
probably 30-acre fields.
I was actually working as a mechanic at a repair shop down here on 26. The explosion shook the building and the dust actually came down off the beams. It was coming up on 94 and papers coming down out of the sky.
But I don't think any of us were ready for what we saw.
You had a field, and then you had railroad tracks, and then another field. We found 8 bodies, I remember pretty quickly. And then when Woodsburg came in, they come in the other field, and they found 6. We had 14, and about that time is when the Central Alarm finally got connections with Leesburg and found out that it was 21 on the plane. Started another search to try to find the other 6, and we happened to look over against a tree, and here was a body that had been, was actually just smoldering against the tree, and so we found the 16th one, and we never did find the other 5, but then they brought some backhoes from Fort Detrick out to find where the cockpit had buried itself. I think it was 24 feet in the ground.
I remember the long tones. It just seemed like they would never end. And its tones were still going off. And we went up the road and up 194, and we went through, I guess it was a rye field or a wheat field or something, but
Barley.
the wheat barley.
Yeah,
it was, so tall and everything, and I'm thinking, where is it? And then we saw it. And so we knew we were there.
When we got there, I actually went to Vaughn because he had command and asked him what he wanted us to do. And I remember him telling me to gather the people, get them in a line, and actually anything you could find to mark the areas. And that's what we started doing, actually lined up across the field and started making a line down across. And that's when we started, like Susan said, we started finding these big tires, and you knew this just wasn't any little Cessna plane. This was something,
And again, we see how, the incident command structure has been since then. And that's one thing, I guess, that was such a disappointment to me was there was no, I'd say, working cooperation between all the different services, state police, fire department, EMS, Air Force. Fort Detrick then responded because they were the closest military institution. And again, it was very difficult not having the same radios and not really knowing who was in charge at that point to know, where we were going to and how we were going to proceed.
I think we were lucky because we had a debriefing. And that was the first time, and we realized that all of our feelings that we were in memories were normal, and that we shouldn't fight them, and that we should go along with them, work through it, and what to look for as far as depression and things like that. I think we were very fortunate. That was the first time I'd ever experienced something like that. But it's still, whenever it's cloudy or it's rainy, it's overcast, and I hear a plane go over, it's like a flashback, which now I know is normal. And I saw a plane go over the other day. It was the same kind that had crashed, and it was brought back a lot of memories.
It stayed with us, or at least stayed with me for a long time. I can remember, playing ball out there, and you see a plane come over, and you just look up at it, and you just hope it stays up there. You just did not want to see anything like that again, because it was just something that you live through, but you don't want to live through it again. You'd rather not ever have to see something like that. It's just it was just something that it's undignified, to see people in that type of shape.
It's just it's the part of the things that we deal with in the fire service. We see a lot of things, and that you just can be hard to it, or it's just something that you learn to deal with. And yes, we all think about it. We still see those thoughts in our, those pictures in our minds of what that stuff looked like. It's a lot of things that we have to, you just got to move on. You got to still do this job.
there's not a day I didn't go up 194 and think about that plane crash. Every day I go up there. Again, my aunt lived right across the street from it. Very fortunate that, that it landed where it did, and no, lives on the ground were lost, which is not the case too frequently. There's usually civilian impact somewhere, but where it did land, somebody was at least watching out for the civilians on the ground. Just some of the things that always struck me, that the boots that were not on some of the casualties, boots blown off, not damaged in any way, just the amount of force. And again, I know there's a lot of theories out there, but again, as Vaughn pointed out, there was basically 2 impact sites, and it really does look like there was an explosion before the plane hit the ground for a number of reasons. But just the force that those people endured and what happened to them was just, I felt just never seen before, that I'd witnessed anything like that.